Hi, everybody, and good evening and good Friday to you, man. Glad to see this one finally arrive. Thanks for being a part of the program as we wrap up this week of September. We're well over the halfway mark already, and we're looking at weather-wise, just to let you know, for the 17th and 18th day of the month, well, some clouds and showers. Can't rule out some chances of some showers, light scattered throughout tonight. Really don't expect any, but just can't rule them out without any certainty. And tomorrow, definitely for your Sunday, pretty much some widespread activity is still, unless you get under some isolated cells and really real powerhouses as far as putting some rain down. Not a big rainmaker for a lot of folks, but some folks will pick up some considerable amounts of rainfall. We'll update it in more detail in just a few moments. The cold front is going to be actually in here and out of here by early next week, and then we'll see high pressure take its place again, and then we'll have another nice run of some nice weather in the low to mid 80s and a lot of sun for days on end, and I'll be glad to follow the somewhat gloomy weekend forecast with that in just a few moments. The McGoffin County Fiscal Court met in regular session yesterday. We'll cover that meeting almost in its entirety. Several remarks made on a variety of different topics. I'll leave it at that for now, with coverage in a few moments. The trial is still set to begin for a McGoffin County man facing years in prison for running down another McGoffin County man months ago. A lot of other calendars, some other news and information. Also another report that I hope to have possibly ready to air before we leave you for once again the weekend. And of course, it's homecoming tonight for the McGoffin County High School team. They're hosting Morgan County, and I'm hopeful to try to get out of here. I never make it on time for homecoming activities. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens and how it goes for the rest of this 30 minutes. One report from around the state that will literally have an effect on the entire state, announced last year, slated to be completed this year, but then reviewed by the governor's administration. Now they believe it will be done by 2019. Nonetheless, Kentucky Wired, the statewide broadband network initiative, is continuing. Progress is moving forward, and Governor Bevin and Congressman Hal Rogers made a joint announcement today about the state broadband initiative. The governor saying that access to a skilled workforce is a critical factor for attracting employers, and it's vital to making Kentucky's economy robust and sustainable. They're going to construct a high-speed internet network that will cover the entire state of Kentucky, completed by 2019. The project will implement some 3,000 miles of fiber optic internet cable over Kentucky. There will be an access point in all of the 120 counties across the state as well. It will provide the link between larger broadband networks and those local communities and in those rural areas, which many still across the Commonwealth have no internet service or have limited access at best. Local internet providers will still have to extend their service throughout communities as well. It's an initiative that is still ongoing, but definitely showing signs of progress and certainly a great deal of support behind it as of today. We'll have more on that at a later time. The Attorney General, that being Loretta Lynch, is making a trip to Kentucky as part of the Justice Department's awareness campaign to address the rising public health crisis of drug addiction. The Department of Justice is launching an inaugural National Heroin and Opioid Week. The Obama administration is announcing a week of action to raise awareness about the rising public health crisis caused by drug overdoses. And as a part of this effort, the Department of Justice has designated the week of September the 18th through the 23rd, and that, of course, being next week, as National Heroin and Opioid Awareness Week. Senior Department of Justice officials, members of the President's Cabinet, and other federal agencies are holding events focused on the work that's being done and that needs to be done to address the national prescription opioid and heroin epidemic. And we all, I think, if you've watched any news anywhere for any length of time over the past several months, most recently, we all have an understanding to some degree just how bad it has gotten. Attorney General Loretta Lynch is traveling to Kentucky on Tuesday of next week, on the 20th. She's holding a youth town hall at a local high school, meeting with parents who have lost their children to drug overdoses and now belong to the Heroin Education Action Team. They call it HEAT for short. She's also delivering a policy speech regarding the actions and resources the Justice Department is bringing to bear on the issue. Attorney General Lynch, that being, says that the heroin and opioid opioid epidemic is one of the most urgent law enforcement and public health challenges facing our country today, and through National Heroin and Opioid Awareness Week, the Department of Justice is trying to raise awareness and prevent new victims from succumbing to the addiction, to highlight the department's ongoing commitment to holding accountable traffickers and others responsible for this epidemic, and to help provide treatment of those grappling with the addiction. It will begin once again next week in Lexington, Tuesday, 9 o'clock at Madison Central High School. McGoffin County Fiscal Court met in regular session yesterday. I'm not going to call it a regular meeting, however. I'll have coverage right after this.
For high-speed internet starting at 15 meg for all of your gaming, movie, home, and business solutions, or to watch TV, including your favorite local channels without a contract, with hundreds of channels and digital and HD quality, and to stay connected 24/7 with friends and family, a direct line to 911, or to give your business the link it needs, choose telephone service you know is always there. Just click on their link on this site to find out how affordable the latest technology in communications can be. Foothills Communications.
While it was a regular session meeting, hard to call it a regular meeting. Yesterday's McGoffin County Fiscal Court session began with standard operating procedure, or business if you will, approval of the minutes, payment of the bills, with Judge Harden beginning early by making a motion that the word hatchet be added to the minutes of the last regular meeting's minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that there be an addition to the August 18th minutes. Matthew Wyman, question the court. The recent audit finds the court's plan of action. See how this could be corrected in the future. The audit was for 2013. Both Magistrate Wyman and Judge Harden agreed this was an unacceptable delay in reporting. Judge Harden responded that he would be dealing shortly with State Auditor Hatchet Harmon's report. Please include the word hatchet.
Hatchet Harmon was how Judge Harden repeatedly referred to the state auditor Mike Harmon's audit of McGoffin County, in which Harmon found numerous problems, the most serious of which was a Mack truck valued at approximately $35,000 that was bought by the county but couldn't be found literally on the face of the earth during the audit process before or after, a finding that Harmon forwarded to the Kentucky State Police and the Attorney General's office. It was the same truck, of course, that's still believed to be involved in the ongoing FBI investigation. In other business, a $5,000 contribution was made to the Bloomington Fire Department, as was another $5,000 contribution to both the South McGoffin Fire Department and the Civil War Reenactment Committee. Judge Harden noted that Chester Howard had resigned from the McGoffin County Water Board, and in doing so, he said that he nominated Teresa Borders Arnett, which was approved by the fiscal court. Later, a bid was opened for another weather warning siren. This one would be placed at North McGoffin Elementary. The single bid submitted came in at $16,486. And Harden also announced that McGoffin County 911 will be doing a monthly routine test of the weather warning sirens on the first Monday of each month at noon. That's simply a routine test to make sure that the equipment is functioning properly and at the ready in case of an emergency. Some other bids were also opened. Blacktop for the Gifford Road area. The lowest bid came in at $78,000 for Hinkle Contracting, and 3 bids were submitted for the Battlefield project, the Punchin Battlefield project, with the lowest bid going to Hinkle again, this one at $63,112 for blacktopping. Following which, Judge Harden made a motion to go into executive session, citing discussion about personnel. They came out and resumed the meeting, saying that no action had been taken. And then these following remarks were made on behalf of the judge. First off, asking the local newspaper, the Sagersville Independent, to consider a poll in its own publication concerning a conflict of interest with its editor/owner, David Prater, which is also employed by the bonding company that is loaning funds to the McGoffin County Library Board for them to build a new library.
I would like to ask the Sagersville Independent to consider conducting a poll in which the statement would be something to the effect: do you agree that the editor of the paper, Mr. David Prater, whenever he makes editorial comments, should reveal that since he is an employee of the bonding agency, the money that is spent on building a new library will directly result in him receiving money? And the more money they spend, the more money he gets.
Judge Executive continued, not making any reference to Rooster Reisner, Magistrate of District 1, or Larry Shepard of the McGoffin County Court Clerk's Office, of course, being convicted of conspiracy and or vote buying charges, but did go on to direct his comments toward asking the fiscal court to support him in questioning officially the legality of the circuit clerk's office, selling food and hosting birthday parties.
With respect to the ethics thing that we were talking about, the audit report, I would invite the fiscal court to join in with me in sending a letter to the AOC, to the Office of Administrative Courts, asking them if they feel that Circuit Court Clerk Tanya Ward selling food, dinners to raise money for a vacation for her and her employees to Tennessee is ethical and legal. And that it is ethical and legal for her to hold an after-hours birthday party in the lobby of the Justice Center without either charging or, and the charging should go back to the court, or making that available to all McGoffin County citizens. And to ask them if they think this is ethical conduct. Does anyone would like to join in with that? The paper will be available.
The court then went into executive session and then came out and spoke of violence in the workplace, and that's where we'll pick up the report after these messages. Stay tuned. Resuming McGoffin County Fiscal Court coverage, just as a matter of fact, before the commercial break, I mentioned it was at that point in the meeting that they had gone into executive session, when in fact that was earlier in the meeting, as I'd already referred to.
And lastly in the meeting, in what I can only gather so far, was a reference to a situation that arose when Judge Hardin fired an employee with the county that on some level also involved Magistrate Rooster Reisner and Solid Waste Coordinator Frankie Collett. This exchange took place about violence in the workplace.
Finally, I do not want to talk to the specifics of an incident, but it involved an employee threatening violence. And I would like to make a motion that violence in the workforce in McGoffin County by employee to employee, supervisor to employee, employee to supervisor, or the threat of violence outside the workplace as a result of disagreements that happen at work is not acceptable and will be dealt with harshly by this fiscal court. Mr. Reisner has chosen for personal reasons to abstain, so I asked one of the other magistrates if they'd like to make a motion. Would like to second that motion with me. I guess you fellows are not against violence.
I would assume that our administrative code and the laws of the Commonwealth would cover that.
Have you read them?
Yeah.
So you only make statements that are not covered by the administrative court and KRS. In other words, it's not wrong if it's not an administrative court or a KRS. Is that what you're saying?
That's what would be the definition of violence.
A threat of violence.
There's,
What if I use the
charges
word, I'll
for
slap
that.
the shit out of her when I see her? You consider that acceptable? You find a woman being hit
There's
violence,
statutes
you
that
find
cover-
that
No, I do
amusing?
not. No, I find
Then
it
why did you
amusing
laugh?
because I find it amusing that you want to make comments that, is there not laws against that, Mr. County Attorney?
You make comments all the time against laws that you think I'm not. Do you not?
Do what?
You still think violence is funny?
I
Is
do
that
not.
why you brought the paper in for the employee to get his check?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you took his side on violence?
I didn't take
You
his
don't
side.
care about violence to a woman. Matt,
Absolutely.
maybe that's who you feel comfortable picking on. You want to laugh about that?
I'll laugh
You-
about your silliness and juvenile
Do you
comments.
think
in
it's
these meetings.
juvenile for me to ask this fiscal court to say that violence is not acceptable?
In a general concept, I will second your motion, general.
No, I made the specific motion that in this organization, we do not tolerate threats of violence employee to employee, employee to supervisor, supervisor to employee, nor do we condone threats of violence or violence outside the workplace that are the result of things that happen at work. That's my motion.
Sure, I second that.
Been easier than just like it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Can you clear that out a little bit?
There you have it. That's all the meeting coverage for tonight. We did have a new videographer, first time on the job, so a little shaky there, but nevertheless, glad to have the coverage and glad you're with us for it. We'll be right back with the rest of your news today after these messages.